I never thought I'd be afraid to open my own refrigerator. My name is Richard Coleman. I'm 65 years old, retired, and I live, or at least I used to live, on Maple Street in a quiet Ohio suburb where nothing ever happened. The kind of place where neighbors wave, lawns are trimmed every Saturday, and people assume family means safety. That assumption nearly destroyed me. I drove a school bus for 32 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and it came with a modest pension. After my wife, Laura, died from breast cancer 4 years ago, that pension became my lifeline. It paid for groceries, utilities, and the quiet dignity of independence. Or so I thought. My daughter Emily was all I had left. She was 38, articulate, successful on the surface. She worked in consulting, a word she used often but never really explained. She lived 2 hours away but visited just enough to remind me I wasn't alone. Every visit followed the same pattern. She'd reorganize my mail, check my bank app on her phone, fill the fridge, kiss my forehead. "Dad, you shouldn't stress about money anymore," she'd say. "Let me handle things." When my cardiologist warned me that my heart was weakening, Emily was the first one to speak. "You need a break. Sun, dry air. Arizona would be perfect." She even found me a cheap extended stay near Phoenix. Friends from my old bus route lived nearby. Then she slid a few papers across my kitchen table. "Just temporary," she said casually. "Power of attorney, pension access, in case of emergencies." I trusted her. I signed. 2 months later, I came home early. No warning, no phone call. Something in my chest, not my heart, something deeper, told me I needed to see my house with my own eyes. The front door unlocked too easily. The air inside felt wrong, stale, cold. Emily's shoes were by the door. I walked into the kitchen. That's when I opened the refrigerator and screamed. I don't remember screaming. I only remember the sound tearing out of my throat like it didn't belong to me. The refrigerator light flickered as the door swung fully open. Inside, the shelves weren't filled with the meals Emily usually prepared for me, neatly labeled containers, fresh fruit, bottled water. Instead, there were locks, plastic bins, padlocks, duct tape, and a smell that didn't belong in any kitchen. It wasn't rot exactly. It was sharper, chemical, mixed with something sour that made my eyes burn. My hands started shaking so badly I had to grab the counter to stay upright. I slammed the fridge shut and leaned forward, gasping. My heart hammered against my ribs, loud enough that I was sure the neighbors could hear it. "This isn't real," I whispered. "This isn't my house." But it was. The kitchen table was still scratched where Laura had dropped a plate years ago. The clock still ticked too loudly on the wall. Everything was familiar except what my daughter had turned my home into. I forced myself to open the refrigerator again. On the top shelf sat 3 sealed containers, each labeled in black marker. "Do not touch." Below them were several syringes in sterile packaging, prescription bottles with names scratched off, a small cooler box with a red biohazard sticker. I backed away so fast I nearly fell. Emily wasn't just staying here. She was using this place. I checked the freezer. It was empty, except for a manila envelope taped to the inside wall. My name was written on it. My knees gave out. I slid down until I was sitting on the cold tile floor, the envelope pressed against my chest. Inside were bank statements. My bank statements. Large withdrawals, wire transfers, international transactions I had never approved. In 2 months, nearly $80,000 was gone. My pension payments rerouted. My stomach twisted as I flipped through the pages. Every line felt like a punch. At the bottom of the envelope was a printed email. "Dad, if you're reading this, it means you came home early. Please don't panic. Everything I did was for a reason. I just needed time." Time for what? I heard a noise upstairs. Footsteps. Someone was in my house. The footsteps stopped. So did my breathing. I stayed on the kitchen floor, clutching the envelope, listening as the old house settled around me. Every creak sounded louder than it ever had before. My mind raced through possibilities. Emily, a stranger, someone dangerous. I forced myself to stand. "Hello?" My voice cracked. No answer. I reached into the drawer by the sink and wrapped my fingers around the handle of a steak knife. It felt ridiculous, but it was the only thing that made me feel less helpless. The stairs groaned as I took them one at a time. Halfway up, I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The family photos were gone. The frames were still there, but the pictures, Laura smiling at the Grand Canyon, Emily at her college graduation, the three of us at Cedar Point, had been removed, carefully, intentionally. At the top of the stairs, Emily's old bedroom door was open. Light spilled out. I stepped inside. The room looked nothing like it used to. The lavender walls were covered with corkboards and printed documents. Strings of red yarn connected photos, maps, and handwritten notes like something out of a crime show. In the center of the room sat a folding table with a laptop, burner phones, and stacks of cash held together with rubber bands. This wasn't a daughter crashing at her dad's place. This was a base of operations. On one wall was a map of the United States. Several cities were circled: Phoenix, Tampa, Cleveland, Des Moines. Next to each city were dates. My chest tightened when I realized the dates matched my pension deposits. She'd been tracking them, using them. A notification pinged on the laptop. I froze. The screen lit up with a message preview. Unknown. Shipment delayed. Product needs cold storage ASAP. Cold storage. The refrigerator. My knees felt weak again. I scrolled through the open emails, my hands moving like they belonged to someone else. There were conversations filled with coded language, supplies, clients, donors, payment confirmations, fake nonprofit names. Then I saw one subject line that made my vision blur. R.E. Richard Coleman, clearance approved. I opened it. Subject cleared for continued use. Age and medical profile acceptable. Ensure compliance documentation remains on file. Subject? Me. My house spun. I grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. Emily hadn't just taken my money. She had used my identity, my medical records, my pension, for something that required refrigeration, syringes, and secrecy. Footsteps sounded again, this time closer. The front door opened. Emily's voice floated up the stairs. "Dad?" I dropped the knife. I stepped back as Emily walked into the room. She looked exactly the same. Neatly dressed, hair pulled back, calm expression. But her eyes changed when she saw my face. Not surprise. Calculation. "How long have you been here?" she asked quietly. "Long enough," I said. My voice sounded older than I felt. "Long enough to know my pension isn't paying for groceries." She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, arms crossed. "You weren't supposed to come back yet." That hurt more than the money. "I opened the fridge," I said. She winced, just for a second, but didn't deny it. "I needed cold storage," she said. "That's all you need to know." "I saw the emails," I replied, "and the map, and the withdrawals." She sighed and rubbed her temples like I was the problem. "Dad, I'm not hurting anyone." "You turned me into a subject." Silence. Her jaw tightened. "You signed the papers," she said finally. "Legally, I can manage your assets." "Assets," I repeated. "I'm your father." She looked away. "I needed startup capital," she said. "And you had predictable income, clean records. No one asks questions about old men with pensions." The words cut deep, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. "What is it?" I asked. Drugs? No. Human trafficking? She snapped her head toward me. God, no. Then what? She hesitated. For the first time since she'd arrived, she looked afraid. Medical redistribution, she said. Experimental treatments. People who can't go through normal channels. You're stealing. I'm helping, she insisted. People are desperate. The system is broken. And the fridge? Her shoulders slumped. Biological samples, she said softly. Blood plasma, tissue, things that can't warm up. I thought about the syringes, the labels, the smell. You used my house, I said. You used my name. I kept you safe, she snapped. You were in Arizona, no risk. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. You don't even hear yourself. She walked closer. Dad, she said, lowering her voice, if you go to the police, everything collapses, not just for me. For who? She swallowed. For you. She pulled a folder from her bag and handed it to me. Inside were documents I didn't recognize. Then I saw my signature. My blood ran cold. I stared at the papers until the words stopped making sense. Clinical consent forms, medical waivers, liability releases, all with my name typed neatly at the top, and my signature at the bottom. I never signed these, I said. Emily didn't argue. You signed blank authorization pages, she replied, the kind lawyers use. I filled in the rest later. My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. They described procedures I'd never heard of, studies I'd never enrolled in, organizations I'd never consented to work with. According to the paperwork, I had volunteered to provide biological samples, volunteered to allow the use of my medical history, volunteered to receive experimental monitoring. You forged medical consent, I said. She met my eyes. I completed it. That's a felony. So is half the healthcare system, she shot back. The difference is, I get results. I backed away from her, the room suddenly too small. Those emails, I said. They said I was approved for continued use. What does that mean? Emily hesitated. That hesitation terrified me more than any confession. They wanted continuity, she said carefully. Long-term profiles are more valuable. Older patients are ideal. Stable histories, predictable outcomes. Patients? I repeated. You weren't supposed to be involved directly, she said quickly. I made sure of that. No procedures, no hospital visits. Just data. Then why syringes? I demanded. Why samples in my fridge? She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally said, because something went wrong. The room felt like it tilted. One of the clients had a reaction, she continued. They needed matching plasma, fast. Your blood type matched. My stomach dropped. You took my blood? Yes, she said. Once, while you were asleep. You never noticed. I felt violated in a way I didn't have words for. You drugged me? It was safe, she insisted. Minimal dose, monitored. I thought of the nights in Arizona when I'd woken up dizzy, the unexplained bruises I'd ignored. You turned me into inventory, I whispered. Her voice softened. I turned you into a solution. I looked at my daughter, the girl I'd taught to ride a bike, the teenager I'd stayed up with during panic attacks, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. You stole my pension, my name, my body. I borrowed, she said, and I planned to pay it back. When? When this scaled, when investors came in. There it was, the truth underneath all the justifications. I heard a siren in the distance, faint, passing by, but my heart leapt anyway. Emily followed my gaze to the window. "Dad, you need to decide something." "Decide what?" She stepped closer. "Whether you're my father or my biggest liability." I didn't answer her right away. I was too busy trying to remember when my daughter had stopped being afraid of consequences. "I'm not covering for you," I said finally, "and I'm not letting you use me again." Emily exhaled slowly, like she'd expected that answer. "Then you leave me no choice," she said. Those words should have scared me more than they did. What scared me was how calm she sounded saying them. She reached into her bag. My heart jumped, but she didn't pull out a weapon. She pulled out my phone. "My phone?" I said. "You left it downstairs," she replied. "I needed to see who you might have contacted." She tapped the screen and held it up. No signal. House jammer, temporary. I felt a wave of anger cut through the fear. "You planned for this." "I planned for risk," she corrected. "You coming back early was a risk." She opened the laptop and turned it toward me. A live video feed filled the screen. It was the kitchen, specifically the refrigerator. A timer counted down in the corner of the screen. "What is that?" I asked. "Temperature failsafe," she said. "If the fridge warms past a threshold, alerts go out, automatically." "To who?" "People you don't want knowing your address." I understood instantly. "If I touch anything, they assume sabotage," she finished, "and they'll respond." My house wasn't just a storage site. It was leverage. "You've tracked me," I said. She shook her head. "I protected you from consequences you don't understand." I stepped back, my mind racing. "You can't just walk away from this," I said. "They'll come for you." "They already have," she replied quietly. "That's why I needed you." "For what?" She swallowed. "Insurance." She explained then, quickly, almost clinically. Her operation had grown too fast. People with money wanted control. She'd refused. Now they were tightening the leash. Accounts frozen, timelines shortened. "They won't hurt me first. They'll hurt what ties me down." Her eyes met mine. "You." The room felt very still. "You used me as bait," I said. "As protection," she insisted. "If anything happens to you, everything gets exposed. Documents, transactions, names." "Then why threaten me?" "Because if you talk," I said, "I lose that leverage." I realized then how alone she truly was. Brilliant, reckless, cornered. And how much danger I was in. "What do you want?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. "Stay quiet for 3 weeks. Let me finish this." "And after that?" She looked away. "There is no after," she said softly. Downstairs, the refrigerator motor clicked louder than it ever had before. 3 weeks. She said it like it was nothing, like asking me to wait for a package, not gamble my freedom and possibly my life. "And if I say no?" I asked. Emily closed the laptop. "Then I leave tonight," she said, "and you deal with what's in the house alone." I understood the threat immediately. If she disappeared, the alarms, the alerts, the watchers on the other end of those emails would come knocking. Not on her door, on mine. "You'd abandon me," I said. Her voice cracked, just slightly. "I'd survive." That was the difference between us. I still thought in terms of family. She thought in terms of outcomes. "I need proof," I said. "Proof you'll end this." She hesitated, then reached into her bag again. This time she pulled out a flash drive. "Everything's on here," she said. "Accounts, ledgers, contacts. If anything happens to me, or if I don't shut this down, you give this to the authorities." I took it. It felt heavier than it should have. "And you?" I asked. What happens to you after 3 weeks? She disappear, she said. New name, new country. I laughed bitterly. You think that works forever? It works long enough. She stood, slinging her bag over her shoulder. I'll check in daily, she said. No fridge access, no calls, no visitors. And if my health fails? I asked. If I have another episode? She paused at the door. There's a med kit downstairs. Top drawer, instructions included. My own daughter had turned my life into a controlled environment. When she left, the house felt colder, not physically, emotionally, like warmth had finally given up. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound felt amplified. Every hum of the refrigerator made my chest tighten. I dreamed of Laura, standing in the kitchen, shaking her head at me. You trusted too easily, she seemed to say. On the 5th day, the first thing went wrong. The refrigerator alarm beeped. Once, then again. I rushed downstairs, heart pounding. The display showed the temperature rising, slowly but steadily. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't done anything. Then my phone vibrated. An unknown number. They know you're home. My hands hovered over the refrigerator door. The alarm beeped again, louder this time. I stepped back. I remembered Emily's words. No fridge access, no interference. But the temperature kept rising. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. We detected irregular occupancy. Please confirm compliance. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. This wasn't just Emily's operation anymore. It never had been. I typed back with shaking fingers. Me. Who is this? The reply came instantly. Unknown. A partner concerned about asset stability. Asset. That word again. I leaned against the counter, my chest tight. If I ignored the alarm, whatever was inside would spoil and trigger consequences. If I touched the fridge, I'd confirm I was involved. It was a trap either way. The alarm stopped suddenly. Silence flooded the kitchen. Then the doorbell rang. I froze. No one ever came to Maple Street unannounced. I peered through the window. A black SUV sat at the curb, engine running, tinted windows. The doorbell rang again. I considered not answering, but something told me that would make things worse. I opened the door halfway. A man stood there, mid-40s, clean-cut, friendly smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Coleman? He said, I'm Daniel Harris. I'm here to check on your daughter's equipment. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. His smile widened slightly. Of course, he said. May I come in? It wasn't a question. He stepped inside, his gaze already scanning the house. Emily mentioned you were out of state, Arizona, right? I said nothing. He walked straight to the kitchen, straight to the refrigerator. You've done well, he said, tapping the door lightly, keeping things stable. I didn't agree to any of this, I said. He turned to look at me then, really look at me. Consent is a flexible concept, he said. Utility is not. He opened a tablet and scrolled. Your pension income has been helpful, he continued. Low visibility, consistent. We like that. You're criminals, I said. He shrugged. We're efficient. He paused, then added, Your daughter was clever, but she made one mistake. What mistake? She got attached. He stepped closer. We don't. My phone buzzed again. Emily calling. Daniel watched me. Go ahead, he said. Answer it. I put the phone to my ear. Dad, Emily whispered. Listen carefully. If he's there. Daniel smiled. I am, he said loudly. Emily went silent. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. Dad, the flash drive. They can't get that. Daniel's smile vanished. Daniel didn't look at me. He looked at my pockets. Flash drive? He asked calmly. Emily's breathing was sharp in my ear. Dad, don't say anything. Too late. Daniel stepped forward and held out his hand. "Let's not make this theatrical, Mr. Coleman." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, forcing steadiness into my voice. He studied my face for a long moment. Then he chuckled softly. "She always overestimates people," he said. "That's her weakness." "I'm still here," Emily snapped through the phone. "Yes," Daniel replied smoothly. "You are, for now." He walked past me and sat at the kitchen table like a guest, waiting for coffee. "Here's what's going to happen." The temperature fluctuation was deliberate. We needed to confirm occupancy. Now we know Mr. Coleman is home and involved. "I'm not involved," I said. Daniel ignored me. "To protect our interests," he went on, "we'll be relocating the materials tonight." "No," Emily said sharply. "You don't move anything without my authorization." "You forfeited authorization when you withheld data," he replied. Silence on the line. My mind raced. The flash drive was upstairs, tucked inside an old toolbox in the hall closet. If they found it— Daniel's tablet chimed. He glanced down, then back at me. "Before we proceed," he said, "we need clarity." He slid the tablet across the table. On the screen was a live medical chart. My name, my date of birth, recent lab results. But there was something else. A scheduled procedure. Collection, phase 2. Tomorrow's date. "What is that?" I demanded. Emily inhaled sharply. "You told me that was canceled." "It was postponed," Daniel corrected. "Risk assessment changed." "Collection of what?" I asked. Daniel's voice stayed perfectly calm. "Bone marrow." The room went silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator. I felt suddenly lightheaded. "That wasn't the deal," Emily said. "Deals evolve," Daniel replied. "You said data only," she shouted. "And we have it," he said. "But physical samples increase value." "You can't just take parts of him," she snapped. He looked at me then, almost sympathetically. "Mr. Coleman," he said, "you've already been compensated." "I never agreed to this." Daniel tilted his head. "Legally, you did." My knees weakened. Emily's voice came back, urgent and different now, not strategic, not controlled. "Dad, listen to me. Go upstairs. Closet. Blue toolbox. Take the drive and leave. Now." Daniel's eyes narrowed. I realized something important in that moment. Emily had built leverage, but she hadn't built it alone, and whatever was on that drive scared them. Daniel stood. "Search the house," he said into his earpiece. My blood ran cold. There were others, and they were already inside. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Not one person, at least 2. Heavy, confident, not hiding anymore. Daniel didn't raise his voice. "We're done pretending, Mr. Coleman." My survival instincts finally kicked in. I bolted. Up the stairs, 2 at a time. My heart screamed in my chest, sharp and violent. But fear pushed me forward. "Dad!" Emily shouted through the phone. "Closet at the end of the hall." I reached it just as the first man hit the bottom of the staircase. The hall closet door jammed halfway. I yanked harder. Old hinges shrieked. Blue toolbox, bottom shelf. My fingers fumbled with the latch. "Move faster," Emily hissed. The lid popped open. Wrenches, tape, old screws. And beneath them, the flash drive. I grabbed it just as footsteps thundered up the stairs. No time to think. "Window," Emily said. "Your bedroom, now." I can't." "You can." I ran into my room and slammed the door behind me. No lock, never needed one before. The window faced the backyard, 1 story down, but onto grass. The doorknob rattled. "Mr. Coleman," Daniel's voice called calmly from the other side, "let's not damage property." The door shook harder. My heart felt like it might explode. My vision pulsed at the edges. "Dad," Emily said, voice breaking now, "if they take that drive, you're not a liability anymore. You're disposable." That word gave me strength I didn't know I had. I shoved the window open. Cold air rushed in. The door cracked. Wood splintered. I swung one leg over the sill. "You won't outrun this," Daniel called. Maybe not, but I could outlast a moment. I jumped. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. Pain shot through my ankle, but nothing broke. I scrambled up and ran, through the yard, over the low fence into my neighbor's property. Mrs. Daly's wind chimes clattered as I brushed past them. Behind me, shouting, a door slamming. But they couldn't chase openly now, not in daylight, not through suburban yards. "Keep moving," Emily said. "Do not stop. Are you near your car?" "No," I gasped. "Front driveway." "Then don't go back for it." I cut between houses, through a side street, ignoring the stabbing pain in my chest. "Where do I go?" I asked. There was a pause. Then she said something that told me just how deep this ran. "Go to the hospital." "What?" "They won't risk anything public there. Too many cameras, too many records." And then, another pause. "Then we finish this." Behind me, a black SUV rolled slowly onto the street, looking. I didn't stop running until my vision blurred. The hospital was 6 blocks away. I had driven past it 1,000 times and never imagined I'd be using it as a shield. "Dad, are they behind you?" Emily asked. "I saw the SUV," I said between breaths. "They're circling." "Good," she muttered. "Good? They won't grab you in public. They need quiet." My chest burned. Every step felt heavier than the last. "Emily," I said, "if I collapse—" "You won't," she said quickly, too quickly. The hospital entrance came into view. Sliding glass doors, nurses, a couple arguing near the curb. Normal life. I forced myself to slow down before I reached it. If I looked frantic, it might draw attention. Or worse, attention from the wrong people. I walked inside. The smell of antiseptic hit me immediately. Bright lights, security cameras in every corner. I exhaled for the first time in minutes. "I'm inside," I whispered. "Stay near people," Emily said. "Go to admissions." I approached the front desk. A young nurse looked up. "Can I help you, sir?" I opened my mouth. This was the moment. I could say everything. I could say nothing. "I'm not feeling well," I said finally. "Chest pain." It wasn't entirely a lie. Within minutes, they had me in a wheelchair, blood pressure cuff, pulse monitor, questions about symptoms. Through the glass doors, I saw it. The black SUV, parked across the street, engine running. "They're here," I murmured. "Of course they are," Emily said quietly. "They're confirming." "Confirming what?" "That you didn't go to the police." A doctor stepped in, middle-aged, calm eyes. "Mr. Coleman," he said, scanning a tablet, "your file shows a scheduled procedure tomorrow." My blood froze. "What procedure?" I asked. "Bone marrow collection," he said casually. "Pre-authorization came through this morning." Emily went silent on the line. "They filed it," she whispered. "Filed it through official channels, using my name." "I didn't consent," I said sharply. The doctor frowned. "There's documentation here." He turned the tablet toward me. My signature again. Perfect. Digital. Legally binding. Behind the doctor, through the hallway window, I saw a familiar figure step through the hospital doors. Daniel. Suit. Smile. Badge clipped to his belt. Visitor access granted. "They're inside," I breathed. Emily's voice changed. Harder now. "Dad, listen carefully. The drive has everything. Names, offshore accounts, patient lists. If they get you into a private room, you're done." "What do I do?" "Create noise." Daniel was walking toward the nurses' station, calm, unhurried, like he owned the place. Emily took a steady breath. "Dad," she said, "it's time you stop being the victim." Daniel looked up. Our eyes met across the hallway. He smiled. Daniel walked like he belonged there. Not rushed, not worried, just another professional in the building full of them. "Dad," Emily said quietly, "you have about 60 seconds before he reaches you." The doctor was still studying my chart. Mr. Coleman, your blood pressure is elevated. We'll move you to a private room and run some tests. Private room. No cameras in the hallway, no witnesses, controlled environment. Exactly what Daniel wanted. I'm not going anywhere private, I said suddenly. The doctor blinked. Sir? I stood up from the wheelchair. My legs trembled, but I stayed upright. I revoke consent, I said loudly. For any procedures, I revoke everything. Heads turned. Nurses paused. Daniel slowed, but didn't stop. Sir, the doctor said gently, if you're feeling anxious, we can... I did not authorize any bone marrow collection, I said louder. My signature was forged. That word carried. Forged. A nurse near the desk looked sharply at the tablet. Daniel reached us then. Mr. Coleman, he said warmly, there seems to be some confusion. He turned to the doctor and extended a hand. Daniel Harris, I'm with the research oversight team handling Mr. Coleman's participation. Participation, like I was a volunteer. I'm not participating in anything, I snapped. Daniel's smile thinned. Richard, he said quietly, dropping the friendly tone, this isn't necessary. Emily's voice came through my phone, still pressed to my ear. Push harder, she whispered. Public, make it impossible. I want hospital administration, I said loudly, and security. That did it. The word security shifts power in a hospital. 2 uniformed guards at the entrance looked over immediately. Daniel's jaw tightened just slightly. Sir, the doctor said, more cautious now, are you alleging fraud? Yes, I said clearly. Medical fraud, identity misuse, and attempted coercion. The hallway went silent. Daniel leaned closer to me and spoke under his breath. You think noise protects you? You have no idea how deep this runs. Deep enough to file paperwork, I replied, louder than I intended. The security guards approached. Is there a problem here? One asked. I looked directly at them. I believe someone falsified my medical consent forms and is attempting to perform an unauthorized procedure. Daniel straightened instantly. That's a serious accusation, he said smoothly. Mr. Coleman has been under stress. Cardiac patient. Some confusion is understandable. I'm not confused, and I want copies of every document with my name on it. The doctor looked between us now, uncertainty replacing confidence. Mr. Harris, we'll need to verify this. Daniel's eyes flicked to me. Calculation again. He realized something. The flash drive. If I was bold enough to create a scene, I was bold enough to use it. My phone buzzed softly. A message from Emily. Uploaded now. I felt the small drive in my pocket. Everything, every name, every transaction, every lie was on that device. Daniel saw my hands move. For the first time since this began, he didn't look calm. My hands stayed in my pocket. Daniel's eyes followed the movement, sharp now. Not friendly, not patient. The security guards were close enough to hear everything. Sir, one of them said to me, do you feel threatened? Yes, I answered without hesitation. That shifted the energy completely. Hospitals don't ignore the word threatened. Daniel adjusted his jacket. Let's not dramatize this, he said evenly. Mr. Coleman is part of a funded medical initiative. There are confidentiality agreements. I revoked consent, out loud and front of witnesses. The doctor cleared his throat. Mr. Harris, we'll need to pause any scheduled procedures until documentation is reviewed. Daniel gave him a long look. Not angry, warning. Then he turned back to me. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. My phone vibrated again. Emily. Bathroom, 3rd door left. Upload from there. Public Wi-Fi. I looked at the nearest guard. I'd like to file a formal complaint, I said, and I need a secure place to do that. He nodded. We can escort you. Daniel stepped forward slightly. There's no need for that. The guard put a hand out. Not aggressive, just firm. "Sir, we'll handle this." For the first time, Daniel wasn't in control of the room. I was escorted down the hall, past nurses pretending not to stare, into a small administrative restroom. The door closed, locked. My reflection in the mirror looked older than I remembered, pale, sweating, but alive. "Dad," Emily whispered through the phone, "you have maybe 5 minutes before they start pressuring administration." "How do I upload it?" I asked. "There's a link in the root folder," she said. "Anonymous drop. It sends to multiple outlets at once. News, regulators, federal oversight." "I planned this," I realized. "I planned survival," she corrected. My fingers trembled as I plugged a flash drive into my phone with the adapter she'd packed with it. A single folder opened, Black Ridge Initiative. Inside were spreadsheets, contracts, encrypted chat logs, and a video file. I hesitated. "Dad," Emily said softly, "once you hit send, there's no going back. What's in the video?" Silence. Then, "Insurance." Footsteps echoed outside the restroom. Voices. Daniel among them. "We need access," he was saying. Calm again. Controlled. Time was gone. I opened the upload link, selected the entire folder. My thumb hovered over send. "Emily," I said quietly, "after this, what happens to you?" Another pause. "After this," she said, "I stop running." The door handle rattled. Harder this time. "Sir, we need you to come out." Daniel's voice followed. "Richard, don't do something irreversible." I looked at my reflection one last time. For 32 years, I drove other people's children safely home. Now it was my turn to drive this somewhere final. I pressed send. The progress bar began to move. Outside, the knocking turned into pounding, and Daniel stopped speaking. The progress bar crawled forward. 12%. The pounding on the door grew louder. "Open it," someone ordered. "Sir," a different voice called, likely hospital security, "please unlock the door." My phone screen felt slippery in my hands. 23%. "Dad," Emily whispered, "if they cut the signal, it might fail." "Then what?" I asked. "Then we try again," she said, but she didn't sound confident. Outside, I heard Daniel's voice again, calm, controlled. "Richard," he said through the door, "if you transmit proprietary medical data, you expose yourself to federal prosecution." I almost laughed. "You forged my bone marrow extraction," I shouted back. "I'm not worried about paperwork." Silence. Then, quieter, closer to the door. "You think this ends with me?" Daniel said. "Black Ridge is layered. I'm replaceable." 41%. My phone flickered for a split second. "No," Emily breathed. "Stay connected." The Wi-Fi icon dropped to 1 bar. "Dad, switch to cellular, now." "I thought you said public Wi-Fi." "Just do it." I toggled the connection. The upload paused. Spinning wheel. "Come on." Outside, metal scraped against metal. They were trying to override the lock. "Richard," Daniel said, his tone no longer friendly, "this is your final chance to step away." I stared at the screen. Upload resuming. 58%. Emily exhaled audibly. Okay. "What's in the video?" I asked again. She hesitated. "It shows what they did to the last subject who resisted." My stomach turned. "Alive?" I asked. Another pause. "No." The scraping outside stopped. Heavy footsteps retreated briefly. "They're regrouping," Emily said. "They won't break the door in a hospital. Too visible." 72%. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Unknown number. Then another. And another. They were flooding it. "Don't answer," Emily said sharply. The upload slowed again. 81%. A hospital intercom crackled overhead. "Security to Administration Hallway B. Security to Hallway B." That was here. Daniel was escalating. "Dad," Emily said quietly now, her voice steadier than before, "if this finishes,
You need to tell the guards everything. Use the word federal. Use trafficking. They can't ignore that. You sound calm, I said. I'm not, she replied. I'm just done being scared. The pounding returned, harder, urgent now. Open this door immediately. 94%. My heart hammered so violently I thought I might collapse before the upload did. The progress bar froze. Spinning. Spinning. Come on, I whispered. Daniel's voice cut through the noise. Kill the signal. The Wi-Fi icon vanished. Cellular dropped. No service. The screen displayed one terrible word. Failed.
Failed. The words sat on my screen like a verdict. No, Emily breathed. No, no, no. The door burst open. Not broken, but unlocked from the outside with a master override. 2 hospital security officers stood there. And behind them, Daniel. Calm again. Controlled again. You've made quite a disturbance, Mr. Coleman, Daniel said smoothly. We were concerned for your safety. I quickly pulled the flash drive from my phone and closed the screen. One of the guards stepped forward. Sir, we need you to come with us. For what? I demanded. Administrative review, he replied. Daniel watched my hands carefully. May I see the device? He asked casually. No, I said immediately. The guard looked between us. Is there something illegal on that drive? He asked me. Yes, I said. Daniel answered at the exact same time. No. The guard frowned. What kind of illegal? He asked me. Medical fraud, identity misuse, possible trafficking, I said clearly. I saw it again, that shift in the air. The word trafficking is radioactive in a hospital setting. Daniel's jaw tightened just a fraction. You're being manipulated, he said to the guard. He's experiencing cardiac stress and paranoia. I'm not paranoid, I said. Check the authorization file for tomorrow. Bone marrow collection. The second guard looked at the first. Did you verify that? Administration is reviewing, the first replied. My phone buzzed. A message from Emily. Backup initiated. Check gallery. I didn't react outwardly, but my pulse jumped. Backup. I subtly reopened my phone screen. In my gallery was a new video file. Timestamp, 1 minute ago. How? I whispered under my breath. Daniel noticed the movement. Sir, he said more firmly now, I'm asking you to hand over the device. No. The guard stepped between us slightly. Mr. Harris, he said, until this is clarified, you need to step back. Daniel's smile faded completely. You don't understand the liability here, he said. I understand a patient alleging fraud, the guard replied. That's enough. My phone vibrated again. Emily Pauling. I answered immediately and put it on speaker before anyone could stop me. Dad, she said, her voice now composed, almost cold. Tell them to check the hospital's external email servers. Daniel's head snapped toward the phone. What did you do? He demanded. Emily didn't address him. Dad, she continued, when the upload failed, the drive auto-split the files. The video file was sent separately through a timed cellular burst. It went out before they killed the signal. Daniel lunged forward. The guard blocked him. What video? The guard asked sharply. Emily answered for me. The one showing a previous donor dying during an unsanctioned extraction in a facility funded through Shell research grants. The hallway went very still. Daniel's composure cracked for the first time. That footage is fabricated, he said. It has your voice in it and the hospital's logo on the wall. The doctor from earlier appeared at the end of the hall, pale. I just received an external alert, he said, from compliance. Daniel's eyes darkened. Emily continued, steady and relentless. I didn't get attached, Daniel. I got prepared. The guard turned to Daniel. Sir, he said, voice firm now, you need to remain here. Daniel looked at me, not with anger, with something colder. You think this protects you? He said quietly. I met his gaze. It's public now, I said. And for the first time since this started, he didn't have a move ready. The shift was immediate. Daniel wasn't directing the room anymore. He was being watched in it. 2 additional security officers arrived, followed by a woman in a navy blazer with a hospital ID badge that read Compliance Director. "What's going on?" she asked sharply. The doctor answered before Daniel could. "There's a dispute over consent documentation and, apparently, a video." Her eyes moved to me. "Mr. Coleman?" I held up my phone. "My daughter says evidence was just transmitted to external oversight." Daniel took a careful breath, regaining composure. "This is a misunderstanding involving proprietary research data," he said. "If this escalates unnecessarily, the hospital exposes itself to liability." The compliance director didn't blink. "Escalation is already happening," she said calmly. "We received an automated federal inquiry flag 3 minutes ago." That landed. Daniel's mask slipped just slightly. "On what grounds?" he asked. "Unlawful human tissue procurement," she replied. Silence. Even the hallway noise seemed to fade. The guard beside Daniel adjusted his stance. "Sir, I'm going to need you to surrender your badge." Daniel didn't move. "This facility receives private funding from Blackridge," he said carefully. "Think before you overreact." The compliance director stepped closer. "If that funding is tied to criminal exposure, we will survive without it." She looked at the guards. "Escort Mr. Harris to a holding office." For a moment, I thought Daniel might resist. Instead, he smoothed his jacket. "This won't end with me," he said quietly, to me. Then he allowed himself to be led away. As he disappeared down the hall, my knees finally gave out. A nurse caught my arm. "Let's get you seated," she said gently. The adrenaline that had carried me this far drained all at once. Emily was still on the line. "Dad?" "It worked," I whispered. "Part of it," she corrected. "The rest depends on what investigators find." The compliance director turned back to me. "Mr. Coleman," she said, voice softer now, "we need a full statement and copies of whatever documentation you have." I looked at my phone, at the small flash drive still in my pocket. For months, I had been inventory, data, a blood type. Now I was evidence. "Okay," I said. Emily's voice shifted. No longer strategist, no longer scared. Just my daughter. "Dad? I'm coming in." I closed my eyes. "Don't," I said quietly. Silence on the line. "It's over for me either way," she replied. "No," I said. "It's just beginning." Outside the hospital windows, the black SUV was gone. But the consequences were just arriving.
By the time federal investigators arrived, the hospital felt like a different building. Doors that had once opened automatically now required badge access. Staff whispered in corners. Compliance officers moved with tight expressions, and folders clutched to their chests. I sat in a private consultation room, ironically the kind Daniel had wanted me in earlier, only now the door was open, and 2 uniformed officers stood outside. Across from me sat a woman from the Department of Health and Human Services and a man who introduced himself simply as Special Agent Ruiz. They did not smile. "Mr. Coleman," Ruiz said, "we need you to start from the beginning." So I did. I told them about the pension, the power of attorney, the refrigerator, the forged documents, the scheduled bone marrow collection. I handed over the flash drive. They didn't react outwardly, but they exchanged a look. "That's Blackridge," the HHS official muttered quietly. "You've heard of them?" I asked. Ruiz answered. "We've been trying to build a case for 18 months. That sent a chill through me. "Through shell nonprofits and research grants," the woman added. "They've been skirting regulatory lines for years, but we never had internal documentation." "Now you do," I said. Ruiz nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "Now we do." My phone buzzed again. "Emily." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Ruiz noticed. "Is that your daughter?" "Yes." "Answer it," he said. I put her on speaker. "Dad?" "There are federal agents here," I said. "They know about Blackridge." There was a pause. Then, "Are you safe?" "Yes." Another pause. Longer this time. "Good," she said quietly. Ruiz leaned forward slightly. "Miss Coleman," he said calmly. "This is Special Agent Ruiz. We'd like to speak with you." Silence. Then a shaky exhale. "I figured," she replied. "Are you willing to cooperate?" A long pause followed. When she spoke again, the strategist was gone. "I made mistakes," she said, "but I wasn't the top of that chain." "We know," Ruiz replied. "You don't know everything. Then tell us." I could hear traffic in the background where she was. A car door closing. "I built the logistics platform," she admitted. Temperature tracking, donor profiles, identity buffers. You mean victims, the HHS official said. Another pause. Yes, Emily whispered. Victims. That word hurt her to say. Ruiz's tone softened slightly. If you come in voluntarily, that matters. I'm not running, she said. I closed my eyes. For weeks, she'd been calculating escape routes. Now she was choosing something else. Where are you? Ruiz asked. 10 minutes away, she replied. My heart pounded again, but this time not from fear, from something complicated. Dad, she said quietly, I'm sorry. I swallowed. For which part? I asked gently. All of it. Through the open consultation room door, I saw hospital staff watching from a distance. The system she tried to outmaneuver was now staring back at her. You come in, I said. You tell them everything. And you? She asked. I'm done being your leverage, I said, but I'm still your father. Silence. Then a small broken sound on the line. I'll be there, she said. The call ended. Ruiz stood. This is going to get bigger before it gets smaller, he asked. How big? I asked. He looked at the flash drive on the table. National. Outside, news vans were already pulling into the parking lot. Maple Street was about to become something it had never been, and my quiet retirement was over.
The news helicopters arrived before Emily did. From the consultation room window, I could see them circling, blades chopping the air above what had once been an ordinary Thursday afternoon. Reporters clustered near the hospital entrance, microphones ready, faces sharpened by the scent of scandal. Blackridge was no longer invisible. Neither was I. Agent Ruiz stepped out briefly to coordinate with arriving federal officers, the hallway filled with suits and quiet urgency. Words like subpoena, data seizure, and federal warrant floated through the air. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Emily. I'm outside. My chest tightened. Ruiz returned just as I stood. She's here, I said. He nodded once. We'll bring her in discreetly. Discreetly was relative. Within minutes, 2 unmarked federal vehicles pulled into the ambulance bay. A side entrance was cleared. I watched through the hallway window as she stepped out of a gray sedan. For the first time since this began, she didn't look composed. No sharp blazer, no controlled posture. Just my daughter. Pale, exhausted, human. She spotted me through the glass. We held each other's gaze. Ruiz approached her first, spoke calmly. No cuffs, no spectacle. She nodded, and then she walked toward me. When she entered the hallway, the distance between us felt heavier than miles. Hi, Dad, she said softly. I studied her face, searching for the girl who used to leave sticky notes on the fridge, the teenager who cried the night her mother died. She almost killed you, I said quietly. Emily shook her head. No, she replied. I almost did. The honesty in that hurt more than denial would have. Why didn't you stop? I asked. Because I was good at it, she said. Because I thought I was smarter than the system, and because the money made it easier to justify. Ruiz stepped closer, but gave us space. You understand this won't go away, he told her. Cooperation helps. It doesn't erase. I know, she said. Her eyes met mine again. I never meant for them to escalate to physical collection, she added. Data was one thing. What they planned for you, she swallowed hard. That wasn't the agreement. You still signed me into it, I said. Yes. No excuses, just yes. Outside, a reporter's voice echoed faintly through the glass. Allegations of illegal medical harvesting tied to a private research group. Emily closed her eyes briefly. I can give you access to the offshore accounts, she said to Ruiz, and the secondary servers. They mirror in Iceland. Ruiz raised an eyebrow. You're full of surprises, Miss Coleman. Not anymore, she replied. He gestures down the hall. Let's talk. She hesitated, then turned back to me. They'll probably charge me, she said quietly. Yes, I replied. I deserve that. Another long silence stretched between us. I was afraid, she admitted. After Mom died, after your diagnosis, I didn't want to feel powerless again. So you chose control, I said. She nodded. I chose wrong. The hallway lights hummed softly overhead. Life in the hospital continued. Patients, nurses, stretchers rolling past. Normalcy moving forward, indifferent to collapse. I stepped closer. I won't lie for you, I said. I don't want you to, she replied. But I will tell the truth, I added. All of it. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Thank you, she whispered. Ruiz cleared her throat gently. It's time. She nodded once. As she walked away between 2 federal agents, not restrained, but not free, I felt something complicated settle inside me.
Not victory, not defeat. Consequences. Outside, the helicopters kept circling. And somewhere on Maple Street, my refrigerator was still humming, in an empty house that would never feel the same again.
By nightfall, Maple Street was unrecognizable. Federal vehicles lined both sides of the road. Neighbors stood in clusters on their lawns, whispering, pretending not to stare at the agents carrying sealed evidence boxes out of my house. My house. I sat in the back of a government sedan, not as a suspect, but as a witness, watching strangers move through my front door with gloves and flashlights. The refrigerator was the last thing they removed. 2 men in protective gear wielded it out on a dolly like it was something radioactive. In a way, it was. Across the street, Mrs. Daly caught my eye. Her expression wasn't judgmental, just stunned. I rolled down the window slightly. "I'm sorry about the noise," I said weakly. She shook her head. "Richard," she replied softly, "you should have told someone if you were in trouble." I almost laughed. "I didn't know," I said. And that was the truth. Inside the house, agents photographed everything. Emily's old bedroom with the corkboards and red string, the folding table, the burner phones. The illusion of quiet retirement was gone. Agent Ruiz approached the car. "She's cooperating," he said. "How bad is it?" I asked. "Bad," he answered honestly, "but bigger than her." I nodded slowly. "I never saw it," I admitted. "Not until it was too late." Ruiz leaned against the car door. "They target people like you," he said. "Stable income, clean history. Trusting." Trusting. That word carried weight. "What happens to her?" I asked. "She'll likely face charges," he said. "Conspiracy, fraud, accessory to unlawful procurement." "In prison?" "Possibly," he said, "but cooperation changes sentencing." I stared at my house. At the porch where Laura used to drink coffee. At the window I had jumped from just hours earlier. "I raised her better than this," I said quietly. Ruiz didn't argue. "People don't wake up villains," he said. "They slide." The night grew colder. Eventually, they taped off the front door. Evidence tags hung where holiday wreaths once had. "You can't stay here tonight," he said. "It's an active investigation site." I nodded. "Where do I go?" "We've arranged a hotel," he said. "Temporary." Temporary. Everything felt temporary now. As the sedan pulled away from Maple Street, I looked back one last time. The house stood dark and hollow, surrounded by flashing lights. It wasn't just the refrigerator that had been cold. It was the trust. And that would take longer to thaw. My phone buzzed once more. A message from Emily. "I told them everything, even about you. I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. "Tell the whole truth. That's enough." The car turned the corner. Maple Street disappeared from view. And for the first time since I opened that refrigerator, the silence didn't feel like a threat. It felt like the beginning of something honest. 3 months later, the house on Maple Street no longer belonged to me. I sold it. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't walk into that kitchen without hearing the refrigerator alarm in my head. The investigation exploded exactly the way Agent Ruiz predicted. Black Ridge Initiative wasn't just one rogue research group. It was a network. Shell foundations, complicit administrators, brokers who treated medical vulnerability like a commodity market. There were hearings, arrests, asset freezes. There were also families, other families, who came forward. Some had lost money. Some had lost more than that. When the indictments were announced, Emily's name was on the list. So was Daniel's. Daniel didn't get to disappear into another boardroom. The video, clear, time-stamped, undeniable, ensured that. It showed enough to crack open the entire structure. Emily's cooperation mattered. It didn't erase what she had done, but it drew a line between architect and accessory, between ambition and escalation. She took a plea. Reduced charges, federal time, no dramatic courtroom speech, no handcuffs in front of cameras. Just consequences. The first time I visited her, it wasn't in some high-security nightmare like television portrays. It was a quiet federal facility with beige walls and structured silence. She looked smaller without strategy wrapped around her. "Hi, Dad," she said through the partition glass.
Hi, Em. We sat for a moment without speaking. I thought I was fixing a broken system, she said eventually. I know, I replied. That doesn't make it better. No, I agreed. It doesn't. She studied my face. Are you angry? I considered that carefully. I was, I said. I was furious. I was hurt. And now? Now I'm tired, I answered honestly. But I'm not done being your father. Her eyes filled then, not dramatic tears, just quiet ones. I used you, she whispered. Yes. I'm sorry. I know. Silence settled between us, not hostile this time. Human. Do you ever think about Mom? She asked. Every day, I said. She would have hated what I did. Yes, I said gently. But she wouldn't have stopped loving you. That broke something open in her expression. When my visit time ended, she pressed her palm lightly to the glass. I mirrored it. Not forgiveness. Not absolution. Connection. I moved into a small apartment closer to the city after selling the house. Downsized. Simplified. The pension deposits still arrive. This time, I check them myself. Sometimes reporters still call. I decline most interviews. I'm not interested in being a headline. But I did speak once at a senior community center. I told them something simple. Don't sign what you don't understand, and don't confuse love with blind trust. They listened. That felt like enough. As for the refrigerator, I bought a new one. Plain white, no smart features, no remote monitoring, no silent alarms. Just a light that turns on when I open it. Sometimes I stand there longer than I need to, staring at ordinary groceries. Milk, eggs, leftovers, normal things. The kind of cold that preserves food, not secrets. And every time I close that door, I remind myself, it wasn't the scream that saved me. It was the moment I chose not to stay silent.